Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to the channel. After reading a few of the comments on a few of the last few videos and shorts that I've put out, I decided to make today's video because it seems like there's a lot of people coming back to the channel who've got a lot of experience with the Warhammer 40k universe, but there's also a fair few people asking questions that clearly suggest they've not been in the 40k universe long. So I thought what we'd do today is break down the best Warhammer 40k factions for beginners, the pros and cons of each one, and just sort of help anybody out who's struggling to pick an army. If you're new to 40k or you're helping a friend pick their first army, this guide will save you time, money, and a lot of frustration. Let's dive into the factions most commonly recommended to beginners, and let's talk about whether they really deserve that position. So first up, I thought we'd start with everybody's first visual of Warhammer 40k, the poster boys of 40k, the Space Marines. Now, the majority of people will think of Space Marines, they will think of either Ultramarines, Dark Angels, or the Blood Angels. Now, one of the benefits to having these guys as your first army is they are the most beginner friendly for rule sets out all factions. Their datasheets tend to be really straightforward, they're forgiving, and they're really, really durable. There's also a massive model range. If you want stealth troops, you want heavy armor, you want psychers, you want vehicles, you name it, the Space Marines have got it all. There's also a ton of support out there. There's strategy guides, videos, starter sets, and opponents who know how they work. And it's generally because they are in every piece of lore, every single shop, and every single campaign that Games Workshop runs. Then there's the painting side of things, because some people don't want to play the tabletop, they just want to paint the miniatures, and that's great as well. These guys have got clean lines, they've got power armor, and they've got very clear color schemes for each faction of Space Marines that you want to pick. There's also a great thing that you can do with them, which is you can create your own color schemes, which is fantastic for anybody who wants to circumvent parts of lore or potentially try and introduce new characters into the lore that's already been established. The downsides to having these are some of the upsides as well. The first one is that they are everywhere. If you want to stand out, whether it's at the tabletop events or just in terms of your overall collection, Marines will not scratch that itch. You are going to look like one of a million different people that has picked the same army. There's also a large amount of codex churning. As the flagship faction, there will be frequent updates and changes, which means you're going to be forking out money on new codexes, potentially on new army models, definitely on new rule sets, and the tabletop will change quite a lot as well. So you need to keep up to date with them, which can be a bit tricky if you're a newbie or a beginner. If you want a smooth, safe entry into 40k, Marines are a near perfect landing zone, but not the most unique. I started out in 40k as Ultramarines and I don't regret it, but now looking at what's out there and what's available to people, there are other options as well. Next up, we've got the Necrons, the robots that refuse to stay dead. Now, these models are great starter kits. They have models in Recruit, Elite, and Command boxes, which are genuinely useful. They are very durable and very simple units, so they have reanimation protocols, which gives beginners more staying power. You've got 1,000-point listing without needing 50 plus minis. You've got a fantastic range of models that you can put out there without having to spend hundreds and hundreds of pounds or dollars on different minis and figures to build your army. Unfortunately, the range is monotonous. There are a lot of units which share similar aesthetics and roles. There's also a higher focus on shooting, so there's less variety in playstyles compared to the Space Marines. They can also be quite tricky to paint as well. Metallics are easy, but the details like the fluorescent guns and the fluorescent blades can be a bit fiddly. They are a fantastic no-fuss faction, but they can feel samey if you want a bit of variety in there. Next up is the Astra Militarum, or as I knew them back in the day, the Imperial Guard. Now, these guys are a human wave. They are basically the first line of cannon fodder sent in by the Imperium in order to tackle any Xenos or Chaos threat. One of the best things about them is they are classic army fantasy. They have tanks, infantry, artillery. It's a peak military aesthetic. You can find paint schemes for them anywhere in the world, and it's great. Everybody who knows anything about classic model building will know that army models are easy to paint, especially for beginners. They also have long-range shooting and vehicles. The Lehman Russ tanks, for example, are incredibly beginner-friendly. They are so durable and customizable, there's every variant and every version of them everywhere you look. They're highly customizable in general. Their regiments, their kit bashing, conversions. Guard players excel with this sort of stuff. So if you're into the models and the painting of the models, you can find an absolute ton of customizable content with them. However, this is one of the armies with a high model count, so there's lots of infantry, which means more assembly, more painting, more time spent actually building your models, which is great if that's what you want to do. But if you're wanting to assemble a tabletop army, that could take some time. You've also got fragile troops. Now, it is a bit of a misnomer that if you're going to send normal human beings into space to fight Xenos and Chaos, they're going to die more easily. New players will lose a lot of units quickly if they misposition them, but that's all part of the learning curve. Then there's the fact of the cost. It can get expensive when vehicles and hordes of dudes all get lumped into one checkout basket. That just equals a wallet of pain. The Imperial Guard are perfect for hobbyists who love big armies, but not ideal if you want a fast, simpler start. Now we come on to the Orks, the green, loud, and glorious warboys. These guys are brilliant. They're fun, they've got chaotic gameplay. Basically, you run forward, shout wah, roll a bucket of dice, and a load of enemies die. They've also got fantastic personality. You go through the codex, nobody regrets painting orcs and playing as orcs. They are so fun to use. That's why they were my second army. They're also great if you want to have a flexible playstyle. You want speed mobs, you want horde mobs, you want mechs. It's all viable and it's all there for you all the time. Now, unfortunately, they are hoardish. Many lists require 40 to 100 models to build an army. And there's so much scale there with the orcs. They just come in wave after wave after wave. And then there's the random factor with the orcs. There are some skills and some playstyles where you roll a dice and there's complete randomness because of Gork and Mork, so you don't actually know what your character is going to do once you've rolled those dice. Some beginners love it, others hate it. There's also non-uniform kits. Some models are old and they are quite hard to build. It's not as robust as the very squeaky clean Guard or Space Marines or even the Necrons. If you want your games to feel like controlled chaos, Orks are unbeatable, but definitely not the simplest faction for a beginner. Next up, we have got the Tyranids, the big enemy that you will have seen in the Space Marine 2 games. These are a fantastic army with a strong melee play base. So if you want to be one of these beginners who wants fast, aggressive gameplay, this is an ideal faction for you. There's the brood sizes, which also vary. You can run big swarms of creatures or a monster mash of huge creatures on their own. It depends on your playstyle and it's entirely up to you. They're also visually striking as well. No other faction looks like the Tyranids, so you've got that going for you if you do pick them as your first army. However, painting Tyranids can be daunting. Organic shapes require more technique than painting simple armor like the Space Marines. You've got to pick out flesh colors, you've got to match tones. It can be a lot more challenging for a beginner. They're also very movement heavy, so constant repositioning may overwhelm new players. And they're a lot less forgiving as well. Misplays can cost you whole units all in one. They are just one big hive mind, and if they take out a bigger unit, your smaller units are gone. Tyranids offer a thrilling, predatory playstyle, but they are not the most forgiving for totally new players, so tread with caution. Then we come to the Chaos Space Marines. They're similar to normal Space Marines, but more aggressive. They've got good durability in the tabletop, strong melee, they've got very flavorful rules, and they tend to have a lot more spice to their play than your bog standard Space Marines. They also come with cool models. Demon engines are an absolute fan favorite. Look no further than a Helldrake from Space Marine 2. They look amazing. And there's also a flexible list for building as well. You've got cult troops, possessed individuals, demon allies, the Marines themselves. You've got whole hosts of things that you can play with or as. However, there's less starter support for the Chaos Space Marines as there is for the Space Marines. There's fewer starter boxes and fewer guides. They're also more synergy dependent. You have to buff their auras and the combo more than in the Loyalist Marines. And there's the complexity of painting. There's more spikes, more skulls, more blood, more detail, more time. On the whole then, Chaos Space Marines are great if you want Marines with personality, but they are slightly harder to master, both in terms of the tabletop and in terms of painting. Then we have the Tau Empire, anime mechs but in a grimdark setting. These guys are beginner-friendly shooting models. They're accurate, they're powerful, they've got really good ranged options. They also have low model counts, so you can run mainly battle suits. And they've got a fantastic aesthetic as well. Mechs, drones, fire warrior suits, you name it, they've got everything you would want from a futuristic sci-fi setting. So there are a few drawbacks, as I discussed in a previous video, where the Tau are basically non-existent in melee combat, and any positioning mistakes will get you punished instantly. There's also a heavy learning curve. You must understand ranges, angles, and screening before you even get to the tabletop. There's also a lot less flexibility in playstyle. You're playing shooting virtually all the time. If you like precision shooting and big mechs, the Tau are perfect. Just don't expect to punch anything. Finally, we come to the Adeptus Mechanicus, some robot priests with their killing machines. Now these guys have deep rewarding rules. The Mechanicus rewards clever players. They've also got incredibly unique visuals as well. It's cyberpunk meets gothic, which is rare in any minis game. And they also have strong shooting and tools. So if you've got tech, they can repair it. They can shoot, they can charge, they're brilliant. However, the Mechanicus are very complex. There are lots of abilities, lots of sub-factions, and lots of synergies to learn about. They also have fragile troops. Mistakes are very costly on the tabletop, and they're not beginner-friendly, to be honest. They're an amazing army, but they are the opposite of simple. The Adeptus Mechanicus are a top-tier faction for experienced players. For beginners, it's a steep climb. So which faction should a beginner pick? Well, that's easy. The top 3 factions if you're a beginner are the Space Marines, due to their easiest start and their broadest level of support, Necrons, their simple rules and sturdy models, and the Tau or the Orks in joint third. They're limited complexity and they've got really fun gameplay. Now, to avoid as a first army, I would say the Mechanicus, the Guard, unless you love painting, and 2 others which weren't mentioned, which are the Chaos and Imperial Knights, just because they are massive models and they don't really feature that heavily, and the Eldar. Both the Eldar and Dark Eldar are complex, fragile, and synergy heavy. They are a nightmare for beginners. But above all, pick the army you're excited to build, paint, and put on the table. Fun is better than power every single time. My experience, go with what you think looks cool. If your vibe is to have robots in space that just don't die, pick them. If you love the Terminator films, pick the Necrons. If you absolutely love spiky, gory Chaos people, go for the Chaos Space Marines. If you find yourself being better suited to long-range fight styles, or you really like the anime styling of the Tau, pick the Tau. This decision should always be the choice of the individual. And no matter the outcome, you'll learn. You're a beginner, you'll get there. Pick what you love and stick with it. If this helped you choose your starter faction, drop a like, sub for more 40k content, and let me know in the comments which army you would choose. Until next time guys, may your rolls be hot and your glue never clog.